Happy Leap Day, everyone. Whatever that means to you. It's kind of a holiday I don't really understand. We've got more topics to cover than we have time, so we're going to jump right in. I'm Joe Mobley, still the original uncloseted conservative, and still the host of the show, despite my computer software's best efforts. Guys, you're listening to The Joe Mobley Show, and it starts right now. All right, and I just put my computer to sleep. Guys, today's show is sponsored by us, The Joe Mobley Show. Shop, it's back up, it's on Public Square, it's all over the internet, everywhere that you're buying the things. Don't give China and Bezos and all of these idiots your money. Give us your money so we can make wonderful content. All of your favorite shirts, they're available at thejoemobleyshow.com. And if you like the shirt, you can grab the mug, the sweatshirt, the hoodie, whatever you're into. And of course, you can become a member and get the members only show over on Locals. Now let's find the magical right button. There it is.
My daughter would love that pink microphone, actually. If she comes, she's going to come and she's looking at it right now. She's like, wow, look at the pink microphone. Why doesn't Dad have a pink microphone? Because Dad's a boy, that's why.
That's actually a really good question. Whoa. I have pink stuff. Are you kidding? I got a pink tie.
I have pink shirts, but I don't know if I go with the pink microphone. That's very feminine, and I'm going to leave it to Samantha.
Now, the mic is very phallic-like, so I've always felt weird about having this big black one, and they were out of blue when I went. Anyway,
the show's already off the rails. I love it.
Off the rails, yeah.
And that's all we have tonight, guys.
That's
I will
the
be
worst
throwing
thing.
my microphone in the trash after
That's
this.
the worst thing about the Blue Yeti. No, yours looks great. It's pink. It's got like the white or silver kind of gate on it. This one.
Maybe stop talking about the microphones.
Yeah.
It's not getting any better.
Yeah, it's just a lost cause. Speaking of lost causes, if you guys, I'm not anti-AI, okay? I don't think Skynet, I don't think it's over for us. It actually might be over for us. But anyway, I don't think it's over for us, especially when I consider how woke these things are. Have you guys used Gemini at all?
I've used Bard and I've used ChatGPT. I'm also not anti-AI. I by the way, AI has been around before people, like your Google browser's been AI for at least, I don't know, 5-10 years at this point. Like they've been using AI forever, so it's not like we're not using it. It's all on the phones, everything. I've used ChatGPT and a little bit of Bard, and it's good, but like it's still very robotic, so it's got more to go.
If you're watching the show right now, not using not on podcasts, but if you're on any of the video platforms, the title you see and the description you see was written by ChatGPT and tweaked by this guy. So I use it all the time. If you get my emails, I try not to use ChatGPT, but sometimes my emails suck, and I'll put my crap writing into it, and it makes me sound a lot better. What were you going to say, Samantha?
Do you use AI?
Oh, no, I was just going to say I have not used any of the AI apps. I have just heard about Google Gemini today. So I'm not anti-AI either. I'm or I shouldn't say anti, I'm worried about the humans behind AI more than anything. So that's where my concern is. I don't trust them, so I'm just not sure I'm willing to start using their products when I know who's making them.
Well, if you haven't used Gemini, they're supposedly fixing it, but what is it that they need to fix, you might ask? Apparently, it's unwilling to say that people who do those crimes against children, those people, it's unwilling to say that that is bad. And it says that we need to open up our hearts and open up our minds and just think outside the box about what attraction and desire might look like. It also will produce pictures of black Nazis and pictures of black founding fathers, and that's just not the case. Frederick Douglass, I'm on your team all the way. You weren't a founding father. Booker T. Washington, love it. But George Washington was definitely a white dude. And Adams and Jefferson and white dudes. It's okay. It's okay. But if you're learning from the internet, AI is going to make you an imbecile. And that's the problem I have, because that's how we get, how everyone always says Nazi Germany. The way that you get something like that is a bunch of idiots that don't know anything about history. We've torn down the statues. We've renamed the army bases. It's not Fort Bragg, it's Fort Liberty. It's not Fort Benning, it's Fort Moore. So we've already erased all of history, and now AI is coming to correct the internet. That's like the problem that I have with it. It's retarded. Which we can't say anymore, so.
I was like, wait, can we say that? We've already offended enough people with the microphone talk.
I listened to Shane Gillis this morning, so I guess I'm saying inappropriate things.
I use retarded on almost a daily basis. We used to call each other that when we were growing up. And hey, I'm a doctor. Guess what? Retarded actually has a definition. It means slow, and
stunted, slowed.
People are called that not because they are dumb, because they have an issue, and they're slower development, they're slow at learning than the average person. It actually is a real word. It's actually a real technical term too.
Or in the music world, Samantha and I would use retardando to slow things down, or you could just say retard. It's the retarded bar 28. It is what it is.
Absolutely. But I mean, when you're describing the fact that this word is meant for people that are maybe delayed mentally or a little bit slower, I can understand fully why there are so many people nowadays that are offended by the use of that word. So, because usually when we're offended by these things, it's because we can relate or we're taking it personally. So that is my theory on that.
So here's my question. Do you guys think that AI on the internet is intentionally gaslighting people as some type of psyop? Did you say yes?
Yeah.
She's
Yes.
like, easy money. Yes.
It's it's only as good as what people put into it, right? And then who's actually controlling it. So, I've used Bard a little bit, because I've actually used AI for attempting and seeing what it was going to be like to build AI personas or AI employees, basically, right? Because in my podcast world, there's marketing to do, there's emails to write, there's guests to invite, there's marketing emails to sell, like obviously products and services to make everything go and make a business go. So I've worked with that to say, okay, can this outdo like an employee? Not because we want to outdo an employee, but will it work? And I've gotten a lot of good information out of it. I've gotten a lot of good emails out of it. I've gotten, show titles out of it, just putting in, see what it was. However, when you go into it, even in my world, so I'm in the health world, and I'm alternative health. So I go against a lot of the mainstream medical stuff for obvious reasons. When I put stuff in, it will not give me what I want from my standpoint of healthcare. It will give very generalized, superficial information. And I have tried to go deeper on marketing and deeper in certain areas of like disease and things like that. And it actually backs off of that. So now that's not possible because it's pulling from quote unquote the internet. It's pulling from stuff that's online and it can do it very quickly. Well, I can go to 10 websites right now that are maybe either blogs or official websites that actually talk about the exact things I'm talking about. I can go to my own website where we might have an article written or a blog written that actually talks about specifically what I'm saying in healthcare every day, what I'm talking to a patient about, which is very opposite of what's going on in the medical community. I might tell somebody, eat lots of steak, while the medical community is saying, don't eat red meat, it's going to make you die, whatever else, right? So I know the sites are out there for it to pull from to get my information. However, it's not pulling from that. So therefore,
that's the training.
Whether there's a governor, for lack of a better term on it, or they are banning those sites or not bringing those sites in, I don't know. But clearly there's some sort of filter that's not allowing everything in because it does hold back on some of that information. So that's what I've noticed. However, in the world of marketing and things like that, there are some pretty good options on it that it will pull together really good wording, really good messaging. It's a pretty fascinating tool. And in the right hands, because I'm that guy, technology is neutral. A gun is neutral. A phone is neutral. It's just a tool. It depends on whose hands it is in.
Do we have the same phone case? Is that happening right now?
I don't know. Is that happening? Is that I have a? Is it?
I think we have the same case, just different phone model.
Kind of. I went with an iPhone 15. I'm a bit of a tech junkie. I am one of those people. I'm not the one standing in line overnight to get the tech, but I'm like the second wave of people who just like buy it and get it in the next day or so. I am a little crazy on tech. My wife is always like, do you really need a new phone? Like, you don't, like, you can buy one, that's fine, but do you really need one? I'm like, well, the other one's not working as well.
See, Samantha, it's funny he says that because he's also the same guy that got me off of sleeping apps and a bunch of other apps.
I got you off those apps when we talked about
you got me off sleeping apps the first time we met.
Did I really?
Yeah, it didn't have anything to do with what we were talking about, and we moved the ball so much, and then we were talking about phones, probably listening devices, and then you were like, have you heard about the apps? I was like, what apps? Holy smokes. Mm-hmm. Doug Carter says, great question, Joe. Thanks, Doug. I believe AI is being used to gaslight and shape behaviors, attitudes, sentiments, and beliefs. So that's kind of a predictive programming type thing, or a psyop, some might say. You are correct, sir.
Let me ask you a question on that. Right? Okay, let me get philosophical with both of you, or the audience. So would that commenter just say it's shaping beliefs? Or something to that extent? Okay.
AI is being used to gaslight, shape behaviors.
Okay,
attitudes.
definitely gaslighting, yes. But here's my question for everybody. Shaping behaviors, attitudes, sentiments, and beliefs. Okay, that's great. Isn't everybody in the world doing that to you? Aren't your parents doing that? Aren't your grandparents doing that? Aren't your teachers? Aren't your pastors? Aren't your religious leaders? Isn't everybody who you come in contact with technically helping shape your belief system? So, like,
Samantha, you want to take that one?
Does that make sense? Like, we can say that about technology, but that's human nature at the end of the day.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Well, and I was thinking about this as you were talking about your experience and, medicine, we're talking about the medical field and whatnot. My issue is that you're relying on, and my issue is not with you. Don't take it personally.
Yeah, no, it's
but I'm real, or do, it's up to you. But my issue is that you are relying on training that you have previously had, and you can use a lot of discernment between the information that you have from your past and from your experience and apply that to what you're getting from these AI apps. And when Doug is asking, whether these things are shaping our behaviors, attitudes, sentiments, and beliefs, the agenda right now is to have the attitudes and have our attitudes and beliefs already shaped so that when what we are fed from AI matches those beliefs. And we are slowly seeing this fade, as our generation gets older, we're not going to have those people that have that discernment and have that ability to say what AI is telling me is not true, or it's unsafe, or it's detrimental in whatever community or in whatever industry. And that is the scariest part to me. So, and when you're talking about history, we're not going to have people that say this piece of history that AI is teaching me is wrong because they haven't been taught history at all. So for all they know, what they're getting out of that app is accurate because that's what they have been taught as well in conjunction with that.
So is
information.
this
Yeah,
like a
I definitely don't. I
two-pronged?
don't disagree with you at all, and that's a great point.
It's kind of like a two-pronged government propaganda camps. We call them public schools, and then they layer on the confirmation bias of their propaganda via AI. I'm sure there's someone who's a GS something or other who gets paid a lot of money to do what you just described. Ah,
Probably.
goodness
And they
gracious.
probably have blue hair and whatever.
He's probably wearing a dress and a dog mask right now. All right. So speaking of government conspiracies and technology, we got to talk about. Oh, not that. We'll talk about the IRS later. We got to talk about the cyber attacks because Jason, you put out a really awesome episode on your Rumble channel, Brave TV over on Rumble. There might be links. Are there links below? If there aren't links below right now, there'll be links below within the hour. Honestly, I don't even want to say conspiracy theory because I feel like we're, 4-6 weeks out from it being conspiracy fact. But just like I thought when the cyber attack was happening, that it's probably not the full story. And my thought, full disclosure, my thought was a particular country. I'm not going to name that country. But yeah, my thought was a particular country was doing a particular thing. But you have some interesting insight on all things AT&T mobile cyber attack / solar flare / black hole / string theory, whatever they're saying.
Okay, so with this, I have to preface this with not everyone's going to agree with me on this. This goes into a little bit what you and I, Joe, talked about before we went on here from a standpoint of I have a very different theory and idea of what's actually taking place in the country right now than most people.
Oh, good. I thought you were going to talk about our plan to take over the world. All right, carry on.
That too. Well, we still want to do that. So I will go back a little bit and then I'll come right back around to this topic. And I base this on my training as a doctor, and I'm not trying to bring doctor into it, just my basis is training. The basis of my training from day one is observe the obvious. That's it. Just observe the obvious. What does something look like? Does someone look sick or someone look healthy? It's pretty simple. I mean, it doesn't mean that's the whole picture, but like that's the first observation is what people have lost. They've lost those perceptions to observe what's right in front of them. I go back to 2017. 2017, President Trump made a world tour where he did things that no one has ever done. He dined in the Forbidden City. He met with Putin. He went across to DMZ with Kim Jong-un or whatever his name is.
Super baller move.
So he went all over the world. Well, when Donald Trump goes somewhere, Donald Trump doesn't just go somewhere to kind of hang out. Donald Trump is a deal maker. That's what he does. So I'm going based off that observation that whatever happened there, I will guarantee you he did something to make some sort of deal. I don't know what that deal is, but that's where this is going. So let's come back around to what happened. What is it, like 2 weeks ago now or a week ago, whatever it is, on Monday. When you get up in the morning and my phone, so I'm on Verizon, my wife is on Verizon. So we were texting each other back and forth. We had zero problems with our phones. Like everything was fine. There was data, there was text, no problems whatsoever. I didn't know anything was going on until I got on the internet. I'm like, oh, I'm on X and everything is like crashing and burning. And oh my gosh, things are falling apart. And then AT&T comes out and says something like, oh, there's a software breach, whatever. That's not even logical because sure, you can have a software thing, but why is everyone else down? Why are other places down? Then we have our own government go and say, China did it to us. Well, that's not logical either, because then why is China not hitting other people? And that doesn't make sense on why some companies are down and other companies aren't. If China's going to go after something, they're going to go after the whole thing. It's because that would be considered an act of war. They're not going to hit one company or two companies or three companies and leave another couple of companies alone. Solar flares are a thing, but solar flares will not do solar flares come in, they don't affect that infrastructure. They're not going to go after cell towers. They might go after other stuff that might affect television. Now, where am I getting this information? I do have an open source intelligence. And when I say open source, it's all public knowledge. There's nothing private behind the scenes. I don't say the person's name because he's active duty, he's a Marine. So I'm not going to give that out because he doesn't want me to, but he is in open source intelligence. As it was all happening, he sent me over about 3 or 4 different websites to actually show quote unquote cyber attacks on hospital systems, government systems, cell phones, obviously. But then here's the kicker. And this is how I know something else is going on far deeper than meets the public eye. He said 358 Starlink satellites are down right now. Some of them have legitimately come out of the sky. He goes, but there's 358 that are off, that are not basically sending signal or receiving signal. And he sent me the site, and literally the 358 Starlink satellites over America, they were offline. Now, I don't remember if it was before or after that, but Elon Musk put out a post or a tweet and said something to the effect of, it was a test. What are you testing, Elon? Why would you, okay, first of all, why would you take down that many satellites? And then on top of that, why would you be testing at the same time there's a cellular network / internet / streaming, whatever all the companies were, down, outage? That means that we're not dealing with a cyber attack. That means we're not dealing with a solar flare. That means you guys are testing something behind the scenes. This is coming to fruition right as everyone's talking about a black swan event in the economic infrastructure. So where my mind is going with this is you guys are getting ready for massive chaos in probably the next, I would say, month or so, from a financial, economic standpoint, healthcare standpoint, economic system standpoint, et cetera. And I really do truly believe they have a secondary economic system waiting in the wings to be launched. And I think that's based off of Starlink personally. So that doesn't say why everything went down, but there's too many coincidences in there to not think of that. And yes, why is Elon but do you guys both know Elon Musk? I mean, he every penny he's ever gotten to put up SpaceX and Tesla is government money. He didn't actually put his own money up for it.
I was waiting for that. I was waiting for that. For people who don't believe this, have never heard this, just type this in the Google, SpaceX government contract. Click on any of the links. The first one that I clicked on is from 3-4 days ago. It's from February 20th. $1.8 billion classified contract with SpaceX, deepening U.S. intelligence military agencies. What is this contract for? Classified. But we can see, because of fiscal law, we can see the financial piece. And then there are allocations of the budget that are black, that only gets reported to maybe as much as 4 to 6 members of Congress, the Intelligence Oversight Committee. And obviously with the wire crossing, I can't talk about that on the internet, but for a lot of reasons. But this is what I do for a living. It's spooky stuff, super spooky stuff. So I'm so curious. Wouldn't it be the funniest thing if your contact and I worked together? That would be wild.
I could probably find out from him if I could share it. And you would probably know in a day or so if he allowed me to share it.
SpaceX does some spooky stuff, guys. That's all.
I don't. This is the kicker. And by the way, for anybody out there who's like, this guy is nuts, that's okay. Trust me. I have been nuts since at least 2005. So when people call me nuts, whether it's healthcare wise or political wise or conspiracy wise, yeah, go right ahead. I've been living in this world for so long. That does not affect me in any way, shape, or form. Pretty much anything that I've ever looked up has been either close to or pretty much on, because I've been around a lot of people who were former military. They've told me so much stuff behind the scenes of like, the public has no idea what's going on. However, again, when the world doesn't make sense, you got to look deeper and again observe. Okay, why did something happen? The story's not real. And then Elon Musk, like, I mean, why the public loves Elon Musk? Why is no one talking about the fact that Elon Musk doesn't produce his own products, doesn't produce his own companies? I mean, literally, he lives off the government dole all the time. Government is building his products and services. I'm always curious why people don't want to look at that.
He's got some wild contracts. Samantha, you're in Texas. What's your take either on Elon Musk or on the I almost said cyber attack, on the events of the phone outage?
Well, I mean, this is definitely not an area that I'm super confident in talking about, so I'm just listening. I mean, of course, anything that happens these days, there's so much skepticism. So when, AT&T is like, oh, it's just an outage, it's nothing to worry about. It's like, okay, where do I need to start looking? What do I need to start worrying about? There's definitely something really big, especially if someone's telling me to calm down. Second of all, I'm just adding to my list that I need to go shopping for toilet paper after this.
Beyond Glory says, Beyond Glory says, Musk is the next Soros.
Yeah, I think, we all saw him purchase Twitter and do all these great things for free speech, and we can all appreciate that. But I think it's just the level of trust. He's just always somebody that we should look at with, from far away and just keep a safe distance, because I mean, there's just a lot of things that, I mean, I didn't even know about the government contracts and the funding. So I think a lot of people are probably coming at exactly from the perspective that I am, and that we just don't know this information. So it's really beneficial to know that.
It's wild. The craziest capabilities that are out there aren't inherently the government's. They're private companies. A private company makes the F-35, the F-22, and all of the tech that goes into it. Those planes can do ridiculous feats of physics. And those physicists are civilians. They work for private companies and make a ton of money because, like myself, we know the real money is not as an employee of the government. It's as a contractor. And guys, I hate the military-industrial complex as much as the next guy. I was in the military. I wanted to wear the uniform until they asked me to stop serving, and I stacked up too many injuries, and I couldn't continue to serve. So if you're like, Joe, you're a hypocrite, tough shit. I can't be in uniform, and this is what I can do, and you probably do nothing. Or who knows, maybe you're Captain America and you're a retired Marine or something. But usually the people who hit me up online about this are not vets and not doing anything. My two cents.
Keyboard warriors, Joe. They're warriors. They're keyboard warriors. What do you
catch me outside with your keyboard? My
well,
2
we're
cents.
so much better because we're microphone warriors.
We're microphone warriors. That's right.
Hey, we put our faces and our real names out there on the internet. That's nuts for people who believe what we believe, and who have jobs. I'll never forget 2020, 2021. I did like 105 top tier media hits. And I'll never forget when people at my old firm would find out. They'd start hitting me up on Teams like, dude, I just saw you on Fox. Oh my gosh. Are you conservative? Like, did you listen to me on Fox or did you just see my face? But I wouldn't dare go on Fox now. It's not me. It's you. if you're listening.
I call myself unemployable, and I tell people it's like I literally have to be a business person. I have to own businesses and a practice, because with what I publicly say on a daily basis since 2016 and my posts before that, like from 2010, I go, I don't know if I would pass an interview at this point, or a background check I'll pass because it's clean. But if they pull up any social media posts or videos, yeah, I better just keep
just put
doing
some
my own
pronouns in
business.
your bio, you'll be fine.
That might be a good idea.
You could get in trouble there too. My pronouns, and you can see this on my LinkedIn, my pronouns everywhere I can put them, everywhere I can do custom pronouns, it says servant of Christ. And some people take offense, and
Do they really?
I'm not going to say it again, but same comment is for the last people that take offense. You can just eat it.
People take
oh, yeah.
offense to servant of Christ?
Oh, yeah. Because it's inappropriate for pronouns. What we call ourselves is serious. Yeah. I call myself a servant of Christ, like it says in this book. I also take it pretty seriously. Oh, gosh, the pronoun stuff.
This is our world. This is our world, guys.
Yeah. I think the outage stuff is exactly what someone tweeted this out. I forget. I'm sorry, whoever tweeted this. I used to think that our biggest cyber threats were foreign actors. Now I fully believe the most intense cyber capabilities exist right here within our borders. And yeah, I think the domestic cyber threat is far greater than the foreign cyber threat. And I think the predictive programming, they're trying to prepare the citizenry for prolonged outages, food shortages, toilet paper, Samantha, toilet paper shortages, and, you know, having communication and connectivity issues. That's just what I think.
Yeah.
But, so, Jason, you just said something that got me thinking about just the reality of needing to debank a little. Okay, my tabs are out of order. And if you guys aren't familiar with debanking, that just means leaving banks, just going back to cash or doubloons or whatever it is that you want to deal in. But I saw this. I don't normally get triggered by things I see on the internet, but my wife can tell you I was furious. I was like, oh, where'd it go? I was like in a rage when I heard this. James O'Keefe, everyone says libs of TikTok, and she does great work. But James O'Keefe, I think, is the greatest, the most prolific, the most powerful journalist of our time. That guy's got contacts everywhere. He's got big brass balls. Like, he doesn't care at all. How he hasn't been assassinated, I don't know. But we've got this IRS idiot. We've got the IRS idiot who, it stopped on a-holes, that's appropriate, who's bragging about the fact that the AI that the government owns and has trained, probably from some of America's top tech companies or universities, has trained it to look inside our bank accounts. Like, I'm not kidding, because I was just looking for a new bank because I have one of the major banks and I was just looking for a new local bank, but I'm this close to figuring out how we can just go cash and be done with this nonsense. This story is outrageous. The IRS is just illegally surveilling, no Fourth Amendment, just forget about it, everyone's accounts, and they still have us submit our banking records. Have you guys seen this?
No.
Oh my gosh. James
I
O'Keefe
mean,
put it out this week.
It's really unfortunate because when I hear things like this, I have like zero surprise at all. I mean, it just, none of it comes as a shock anymore. And it's it's just really unfortunate and it's terrifying. But I mean, we've known for a long time that pretty much everything that we do is under surveillance. Everything is being monitored and tracked, and that's not a conspiracy theory. And the more that AI develops, and this is exactly where I would like to, where I'd like you to explain to me why you're not anti-AI, because this is the crap where I'm like, it's the people behind it that are the problem. It has just this amazing potential to be such a powerful tool for good, but this is what it's being used for. So it's not surprising.
What's a little spying on Americans between federal agencies?
Yeah,
It's
I'm
like
not saying
old
it's
hat.
okay. It's not.
Did you know the IRS is not it's international? It's the International Monetary Fund. Did you know that?
No.
Yeah,
What
Mm-mm.
What do you mean? Like,
IRS is not a U.S. organization. It's based on it's based out of the International Monetary Fund. I mean, it's totally obviously it's unconstitutional, but
is
yeah, they've
this
been.
another thing like the Fed? Because I just learned about the Fed like 8 years ago.
What do you mean? We learned about the Federal Reserve?
About the Fed not being a federal bank. The
Yeah,
Federal
it's not a federal bank.
Reserve is, yeah.
No, it's all International Monetary Fund, the IMF.
Yep.
The IRS is under the IMF. It has nothing. The IRS has nothing to do with the United
How
States.
have I not known this? Ah,
This is the cabal in charge. I mean, what was the other day that Jacob Rothschild died? I mean, the head of the Rothschild banking system. I mean, there's families at the top that control all the banking. They said a long time they tried to take was it Hamilton? I have to brush up on my founding fathers history a little bit, but Washington fought away the central bankers. Hamilton actually worked against us. Alexander Hamilton actually was trying to get the central bankers into America to be the central bank. They were able to fight it off. And then 1871 happened. 1871, they took over the United States completely during the Civil War. And we've been under martial law to an extent. But yeah, the IRS, I mean, when that was brought in, I don't remember the date it was brought in, but when the Federal Reserve was started and we went over to fiat, or the Federal Reserve note, I should say, the IRS is not a U.S. government entity in any way, shape, or form. It is completely under international lands and waters. We are... So that actually takes it to an interesting level you guys might want to look into, and I have not looked into it, which is AI really working out of the U.S. in big tech, or is AI actually under international entities and controlling from overseas somewhere? I don't know that.
I think so. For me, this goes to Larry Arnn's, Dr. Larry Arnn, president of Hillsdale College, when he's explaining the founder setting up the government. He says it's about means and interest. That's how the system of government works. They'd have the means to correct each other. Each branch has its own thing that they do and a unique check on the powers of the others, but they need to have the interest. The question you just asked, I see it as being the same thing. The means belong to us. The technical expertise and all of that jazz to get AI to do its thing, that's us. I can't say how I know, but I know for a fact that that's us. We're indisputed number one. No one does AI better, despite Gemini's nonsense. But AI depends heavily on controlling interest for training, because it has to be trained like a private has to be trained. Do this, do this, do this. When I hear a gunshot, I do the same thing every time without thinking about it, because that's what 12 years of the military does to you. So who is that interest controlling the means or influencing the means? No clue. It could be Samantha for all I know. It could be Beyond Glory. I see that you gave a super chat, but I can't read it. It just says it just says super chat. Thanks, Beyond Glory.
It's a good name, Beyond Glory. I like that.
Yeah. They also say, sadly, here, let me find that chat. Yeah, I agree. Musk is sadly our last best hope for man. Lord, we're screwed. I agree. Solid.
I read the first part of the sentence. I was like, oh no, they're on board. And then I saw Lord Screw. Like, okay, they get it.
Yeah. It's not a good guy. Samantha, were you and I talking about Teslas the other day? Was that me and someone else? Like over text?
Who,
The
me?
yeah, about car
I don't,
manufacturing, and it
about,
must have been me and someone else. The EV
yeah.
scene, like Tesla does a good job, but like Ford tried to get a factory somewhere to manufacture electric F-150s, and it was going to take like 5 milliwatt amp tons or whatever. But the city drew two. They were asking, they put in a proposal to the city council for 2.5 times the electrical draw of the entire city for their factory. And when they handed it in, the guy that read it laughed out loud because he thought it was a joke. And they're like, so we can't build our plant. And yeah, EVs are interesting. That's a good rabbit hole. Tesla does a good job, a decent job. But these other ones, their engines are, or their batteries are taking tremendous natural resources. They're causing crazy fires. They're emitting radiation and all kinds of heat. They're a real drag on the environment. But the
Mhm.
driver's not causing all that burden. So they're like, look at me, I'm saving on gas. But it's like you had to essentially burn down a city to make your truck. But whatever.
The infrastructure of America can't even support. I mean, it can't support
It can't.
any of this. I went to California last year for a seminar that I was doing, and I was getting ready to rent my car online, and they're like, "Oh, here's an EV or basically it said a Tesla." I'd never driven one before, so I'm like, you know what? Maybe I will. And I was getting ready to do it, and then I took myself to the analytics of this, the logic, and I was like, okay, what if I do get it? Because then I have to drive about a half an hour north to see my sister on Saturday night, have dinner with her. I don't know California well. I've only been there a few times, so and also I'm starting to go through these calculations of, okay, if I go there, but then I drive around, or if I get lost or anything like that, not that I will, but then I got to drive back. It's city. I don't know what traffic's going to be like. And then I thought, well, what if I like run out of charge? I don't want to. I don't want to wait 30 minutes plus or whatever time it is, or try to find a station. Like I
Super
don't want to.
convenient.
So within 15 minutes of this pondering, I immediately went, you know what? Give me a gas powered vehicle, because I don't even want to have this situation potentially pop up. I don't want to think about it. I don't want to worry about it, be concerned with it. And that's what I went through. I know not everybody goes through those thoughts, but we don't have any infrastructure to do that. And then by the way, when they say, oh, we're gonna build it, with what money? Because our economy is already on the brink of a black swan event where we have nothing left anyway, and it's going to cost trillions of dollars.
We talked about that last week.
Trillions of dollars to build what they need to build to actually make this happen. Plus, our grid is totally toast. I mean, that's a whole other separate conversation. There's literally no way forward on this electric vehicle situation, even if Tesla's a great vehicle. There's no way forward.
Yep.
Mhm.
I completely agree.
Yeah. Well, and I think that, I mean, thankfully, I think the conversation around electric vehicles I feel like it's died down quite a bit. But I don't think that the intention was ever for everybody to drive electric vehicles. I
Agreed.
think, it's just one of these things that, they pushed out there like it was feasible at the beginning for everyone to have one. And then we're all realizing like this isn't going to work. We don't have the infrastructure. We don't have the power. We don't have the ability to charge everybody's cars and accommodate everybody's lifestyles. But I think, because we've had this whole climate change conversation just kind of explode in so many different ways. There are people that are willing to look at this and say, well, it's okay if only a few people can drive this if we save the planet. Like I am willing to take my public transportation or not work at all. Or there's the whole 15-minute city idea. All of these things that people are like, it's for the greater good. We all need to make the sacrifice, and we all just need to stay within our communities, so that we don't kill the planet. So, I think everybody realizes at this point that the goal isn't for everybody to be driving a Tesla. We just all have to make sacrifices
Good
for
point.
everyone else. Yeah.
Samantha's great for the show, Joe. You know why? Because guys always have extremist views, whatever it is. And women always bring us back to women always bring us back to a little bit of sanity. Like, let's think about this. Let's come back to moderation. Let's go. like like she's it's like my wife. She just made sense, and it was like, okay, my view's a little extremist. That's fine. She's gonna like, yeah, I don't think everyone was supposed to do that.
All right. So,
I love it.
speaking of Sam's views, I just spent all of that time trying to find a good place to stop the screen. I hate when I'm paused on the stream. So this is where I gave up. I hope you're okay with it. But anyway, we can talk about this because YouTube hasn't taken your video down, because I was like, dang, she's going in on this. But do you want to do this topic? Take it away.
I can. Sure. Well, and I was interested to hear what your thoughts on it. I'm sure, I don't know, this story has been circulating quite a bit over the last couple of weeks. Just a little background in case you haven't heard it. This young lady, yes, it is a girl, despite the fact that they are apparently non-binary. Name is Dagny
But
Benedict.
her mom called her a she, her.
Her mom / guardian and the police officer involved in the situation called her she, called her Dagny, so that's what I've been calling her. But she was in an altercation at school, got into a fight with a group of girls. She went to the hospital and treated for her injuries, went home. The next day she collapsed at home. Her mom, I'm just going to call her mom to make it easier, took her back to the hospital where she passed away. Of course, before we had any of the facts or the information, because that's how the media works, everybody was latching on to this, saying that she died as a result of this fight, that it was an act of violence against the LGBTQ community. And of course, by extension, because we are standing against the laws that allow boys to use girls' bathrooms, or we don't want kids to mutilate their bodies, especially when they're young and have no idea what that means. All of these laws that we're trying to stand against, that is the reason that this person died. And
that
not
was
only
pretty
that,
generous of you, because they said it was a transphobic hate crime murder is what they called it. I got the quotes here.
I guess it depends on the article you read, because there's so many of them. But the kicker is that they were literally trying to blame Kaya Rychik of Lips of TikTok for her death.
This is the gay George Floyd. This is George Floyd at the gays.
Yeah. So then, we had an Oklahoma City Council member who was giving a meeting blaming the superintendent over the Oklahoma City School District for appointing Kaya Rychik to the library committee in the school, and saying, like, you brought this death on. What did you think was going to happen? This, of course, was, it was just a matter of time, basically, before something like this happened, because you appointed this conservative person to this position in the school district. So blaming her. And then, of course, we get the police body cam footage of this whole incident. Once the narrative has been run, once all the people have been blamed, once conservatives have been, blamed for trans violence and all these things, police body cam footage comes out. We see Dagny in the hospital. She's perfectly fine. And she admits that she started this fight. She admits
by throwing water in someone's face. That's literally assault.
Yeah. She went into the bathroom with a friend of hers, so she wasn't by herself. This group of 3 girls were making rude comments about her and her friend. And if you've ever spent 5 seconds in high school, all of us have had negative comments thrown at us before. All of us have been bullied. But in response, Dagny decided to walk over and throw water on one of the girls. And that's what started the fight. And the reports that have come out since then have questioned whether or not Dagny's death is even related to this fight. They still don't know what the cause of death is, but it seems to have just continued to ramp up the narrative that this was an act of violence against trans people, that if we don't allow these laws to take place, that more trans people are going to die. And it is absolutely disgusting how much they've exploited this girl's death. Not to mention this picture. I don't know how old this picture is, But this is not a
Yeah.
current picture of this kid. This is to make her look angelic, to make her look
Yep.
so innocent. Like, how could this happen to such an innocent person? And not that I'm saying her current pictures are terrible, but this is intentionally selected to drive up that narrative that, you know, we're just these violent thugs going after the most innocent, angelic kids. So, yeah.
I almost fell out of my chair watching the body cam, and she's like, in the same breath, she's like, yeah, it was an unprovoked attack. I did nothing wrong. I threw this water on her, and then she just came over and started wailing on me. And it's like, wait, go back. He's like, you just had water on you? Where did you get it? She's like, oh, I have a water bottle. And he's like, and you threw it on her? She's like, yeah. And then she just started beating on me. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, that's how that works.
Yeah. Well, and you know, when you're watching the footage, like watching Dagny, I honestly think in her brain, she probably didn't think that throwing water on somebody was an act of, you know, was something that someone would physically retaliate
She's a
against.
Karen
Like,
in training. She thinks the rules
well,
don't apply to
I mean,
her, and she can
when you listen
commit.
to her grandmother,
Yeah. Honestly, I am going to meet you with less violence if you punch me than if you throw a chemical substance on me. If you throw a chemical substance on me, I'm going to assume that I have, especially if I'm with my family, I'm going to assume I have seconds to kill you before whatever it is you poured on me renders me inoperable to care for my kids and my wife. And if it turns out to be water, oops, shouldn't have threw it on me.
Oops.
In my experience, I've gotten attacked enough to not assume that the thing that you've thrown on me is water. That's what I'll say about that. Since this was a hate crime and a murder, I want to see the autopsy, because there's no way with her APGAR score that she had in the hospital. We can APGAR her from watching the video. There's enough there. There's no way that she died as a result of injuries sustained in that fight the day before. No way. Nope.
yeah. Yeah.
I don't know
Well, and I
what
think
happened to her, overdose, suicide, something happened to her, and it needs to come out.
Well, and maybe that makes you wonder. I mean, and this is pure speculation here, but maybe there was something going on at home that the grandmother is trying to distract from, because the grandmother was, I mean, she's the mom, the guardian. I don't really know what to call her. She's the one that Dagny was living with. She was the one that was driving a lot of this conversation, even though she was the one that had been in the room when the officer came to visit with Dagny. But, you know, she knew that Dagny wasn't hurt. She knew, you know, you could see the grandmother describing how when she saw her granddaughter, she had bruises and scratches all over her face. But if you look at the police cam video, you're like, that didn't happen.
Yep.
You know, but she's going out there and pushing the narrative just as much as the media is. And she brings her granddaughter back and she just dies. This 15-year-old girl, like, that doesn't make any sense.
Toxicology reports.
Have they come out?
No, I'm just saying that's what I'd want toxicology reports.
They need to be done, because she was murdered.
And then I would want, just like a school shooter, I want to know what medications they're on, and I want to know their background history and anything they've written, and if there's notes in the room, all that stuff. Because you're obviously dealing with somebody who has a mental health issue, and when I say mental health, I'm not taking them off the hook for what they've done. I'm just saying literally they have a mental health situation going on. When that happens, there's usually not always, but usually always toxicology issues. There's medications involved, there's drugs involved, and then there's potential suicide involved, things like that, because the drugs that they usually take have side effects of suicidal ideation. So it's, yeah, there's no way that happened. And I never saw the article. I think I might have saw it at a flash at one point, but I never read it. I didn't know what it was. But if that's how it's what it is, what you guys are saying, and I kind of briefly looked at it. Yeah, there's no way that meets the eye.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how, nothing against Liz Wheeler. I've not been able to verify this apart from her tweet, but she tweeted out either earlier today or last night that Next Benedict died from respiratory issues, not trauma from any fight. Again, if this was something like asthma, it would have happened a lot sooner. There's something weird going on with this whole story. We're not getting the whole story, and I'm super thankful to the brass at this police department for seeing the bullcrap storm brewing and immediately releasing this body cam footage in its entirety, which is exceedingly rare because at the time the complainant was a minor, and the rules are nuts for law enforcement when dealing with minors. Yeah,
Are you
so
two
good
trying
on
to
them.
say that the mainstream media doesn't tell the truth? They don't report correctly? Is that what you're trying to say?
Absolutely.
I stand shocked.
100% without hesitation. Yeah, it's really unfortunate, but I had the thought, it's not just the police officers. The body cam footage doesn't just save them or save the people involved in the situation. It's actually doing a lot to cover our butts as far as conservatives, because it's like, what would we have without this footage? I mean, we know we can speculate, but there's so many instances and so many situations where we have relied on this type of coverage, having these videos to show people, and I guess that's another question for AI. Once AI completely takes over and can erase these things, it's like all we're going to have is the media narrative.
Yeah. Yeah. Like always happens, the hour goes by too fast. Jason, I know you got to run. I've got members only in about 10 minutes happening over on Locals. Free to join, free to become a member, and if you'd like to be a supporter, it's $5 a month to get your swag bag, your t-shirt, and your members only mug. But anything you guys want to shout out where people can catch up with you?
I mean, bravetv.com, but I just want to say thank you. It was a pleasure to meet Samantha, and great to see Joe again, and always fun conversation, even more
I'm
fun
still
this time
alive.
around.
Yeah.
Still.
Or have I been replaced by the government's? No, just kidding.
He's AI. He's AI, Samantha. He's AI.
I don't know. Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah, so Brave TV, that's brave.tv. You can check them out on
No,
Rumble.
bravetv.com, just bravetv.com. You go there. I'm a podcast. I'm 5 days a week. I live stream as well, and we have a pretty good size audience. And I talk about, if you want to go crazy town, go crazy town. And tomorrow at noon Eastern time, we are going crazy town. So my assistant will be on with me. My producer, she's not always on, but we're gonna go crazy town. Hope it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be good, but it's gonna probably blow some minds.
The Nothing Can Stop Whatever's Coming episode wasn't Crazy Town.
That was fun because it was all
that...
happening while I was on live, right? Like
Yeah,
sometimes
that
it's
was wild.
like, I know people do recordings out there. Like I struggle when I do recordings, and I'm pretty good with a camera. Live is the best because things are going on. You have energy coming in. People are watching it, and man, that was one of the most fun episodes in like 7 years. Only because it was like the world was melting down as we were talking, which makes it more interesting. Not that I want the world to melt down, but it always makes it more fun.
You want to develop some envy? This girl, well, no, wait, that girl over there, that girl, she does both. I used to pre-record videos and do like traditional YouTube videos, and it took a lot of effort, and they weren't really that good. So I'm a live stream body. This girl does both. So check out her YouTube channel, Outspoken Samantha, and Rumble and all the other places. But obviously she hangs on the live stream, but her content's really good.
Thank you. I try.
She's on my list now. She's on my list to watch.
Even if it's only reaching like 8 people, thanks to YouTube. Those 8 people are enjoying it. Dang it.
Here's the last plug for you, Samantha. This is how you know you've made it. Just think about the user experience, because you have a longer video, and that means that you've made it onto the bathroom playlist. Like, if I know I'm going to spend 10 minutes on the toilet, I can catch an Outspoken Samantha video.
Great.
Hey, we started off the rails. We got to end off the rails.
That's awesome.
Awesome. Love it.
All right. Well, thank you guys
Great to be
for
with you guys.
watching.
I appreciate it.
Thank you, Beyond Glory, for the super chat. And we will catch you guys in the next one. Now to him who is able to do immeasurably more than all we ask or imagine, according to his power that is at work within us. To him be the glory in the church and in Christ Jesus throughout all generations, forever and ever. Amen. If that was the first prayer you've ever prayed, I hope it won't be the last. Until next time, this is the Joe Mobley Show.